All right, we go ahead and call the meeting to order. You can call the roll, please.
Jennifer Harden.
Here.
Linda Grassi.
Here.
Tom Hack.
Here.
Lori Kniske.
Here.
Jack Miley.
Here.
Rise for the pledge, please. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We are going to go ahead and start with the consent agenda. Consent agenda provides for more efficient use of time. Any board member can remove a consent agenda item to be discussed and voted on individually. The first one up today is finance and audit.
Yes, we have a motion to approve the items listed on the finance and audit consent agenda as recommended by the treasurer, items A through F. And second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Miley. For any discussion? Not, can we call the roll?
Lori Kniske.
Aye.
Jack Miley.
Aye.
Jennifer Harden.
Aye.
Linda Grassi.
Aye.
Tom Hack.
Aye.
Motion carried. Personnel?
We have a motion to approve the items listed on the personnel consent agenda as recommended by the superintendent, items A through G. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Hack. Is there any discussion? And can we call the roll?
Jack Miley.
Aye.
Jennifer Harden.
Aye.
Linda Grassi.
Aye.
Tom Hack.
Aye.
Lori Kniske.
Aye.
Motion carried. That takes us to public participation. Going to read. I'm sorry. All right, that takes us to public participation. We thank everyone here tonight for coming to our meeting. We're about to start the public participation portion. We value the opportunity to receive input from you, but the public participation portion of our meeting needs to be orderly and civil. Here will be the ground rules for this portion of the meeting tonight. We have several sheriff's deputies here with us tonight to assist us in conducting an orderly meeting of the Riverside Local School District Board of Education. For those who wish to address the board, you need to make your comments from the podium in front of the board table. Please make your comments directly to the board. Do not address the audience. If you address the audience, we will end your time for public participation immediately. Prior to making your comments to the board, please state your name, address, and group affiliation, if any. Your time to make a statement to the board is limited to 1 3-minute period, but we respectfully request that you limit your comments to 2 minutes so the board can receive as many comments as time allows. You cannot assign some or all of your time to anyone else. If you have a question, we will direct it to the appropriate district representative who will investigate the matter and get back to you later. We do not answer questions during the public participation portion of the meeting. If the comments become overly repetitive or the public participation portion of the meeting runs too long, we will end the public participation portion of the meeting so we can conduct the rest of our business tonight. To members of the audience, if you heckle, clap, boo, or engage in any other form of disruption of this meeting, you will be asked to leave the meeting, and I will ask the sheriff deputy escort you off school property. We take the business of the Riverside Local School District very seriously, and it's important that we conduct the business of the Riverside Local Schools in an orderly and civil environment. We can go ahead and get started, whoever would like to come up first.
Hi, thank you for having us. My name is Catherine Anderson, and I'm a parent of a current student in the district.
Can't hear.
I am here to... Is that helpful?
I can't hear you.
You're good. Just go ahead.
Okay.
I can't hear.
I'm here to tell you a personal story about my COVID-19 infection in April of 2020. My daughter brought home COVID-19 weeks before I came down with the virus. I was 30 years old at the time with no pre-existing conditions. The first 2 weeks of the virus was like any other cold, and I remember thinking the media must have overblown how dangerous COVID-19 was. After the first 2 weeks of my acute viral symptoms, I felt the fever. Over time, this one symptom turned into many debilitating symptoms that made it almost impossible for me to function. This was the longest and sickest I've ever been in my life. I had a daily fever of 101 or above for over 8 months, every day. After my tests and experimental treatments, my specialists and doctors concluded that I had post-viral syndrome. They were starting to see a lot, and perhaps in time I would get better. but there were and still no are treatments for the illness that has been coined long COVID. It has been a year and a half since my initial symptoms, and I believe I am slowly getting better, luckily. But to this day, I still struggle with nervous system dysregulation, including temperature regulation, blood pressure regulation, and heart rate irregularities. This was considered a mild COVID-19 infection. I hear people talking about the COVID-19 death rate, but I'm here to tell you that the death from COVID-19 isn't the only negative outcome. There are countless children and adults like me who are suffering daily because of COVID-19, previously healthy people with no pre-existing conditions. I don't wish COVID-19 on anyone, regardless of our differing ideas, and how to safely move forward. Because COVID-19 doesn't care about our opinions. It cares about the fastest way to infect a new host. I ask the board to mandate masks district-wide in all indoor settings. If we aren't doing everything we can to prevent the spread of COVID, we are siding with the virus actively. Therefore, siding against the children's health and well-being. COVID doesn't care who it kills or who it hurts. That's why we have to care. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Chris St. John. I live in Painesville Township. After watching the previous meeting, I was saddened by the divide that was putting our kids and our kids' education at risk. I've been very frustrated watching the country and its politics that have caused the divide in our nation. The extreme action by both the far right and the far left over the past year have disgusted me. I love this country. It feels the best country in the world, but I'm also embarrassed and saddened by the action of late. I felt the same way after watching the last board meeting. It was clear after the meeting that most have their feet dug into the sand along ideological outlines, and the price of that to be paid is our kids' education. In the last meeting, Gabe Cicconetti said he tells his kids, doing what is right isn't always easy. I 100% agree with that statement. No one wants to wear a mask, but if wearing a mask will keep our kids in school and has a chance of protecting even one of our children or their parents or grandparents from serious illness, hospitalization, or death, it's the right thing to do. The large majority of what I've seen from the opposing group is the use of bully tactics, attacking anyone that disagrees with them. One tactic I keep hearing is that parents are scared and they're scaring their kids. Let me make it very clear. I'm not scared, nor am I scaring my kids about this virus. Quite the opposite. We will wear masks because it's the one thing we can do to defend and help others. I will teach my kids to be strong, passionate, kind, and to stand up for what is right. Having our kids support others by wearing a mask is a sign of strength that should give the kids a sense of pride. Wearing masks until their friends have the choice to get vaccinated is the right thing to do. Most of what I'm hearing from the opposing view is that the numbers are low, and it's more important to fight for individual rights versus fighting to keep our community safe. I'm a former Marine. I fiercely believe in the freedoms that I help defend. Let's look at the extraction from Afghanistan. The suicide bomber that tragically took the lives of 13 service members and 18 others. Is that 0.002% of our military too small of a percentage to matter? No, 100% not. I know about sacrifice and the value of the greater good. If masks can help protect our kids and their families and keep them in school, it's the right thing to do. To the school board, I'd like to remind you that your only job is to provide the best education opportunities possible for our youth and our community. They cannot get that if they cannot stay in school. So please, set your personal agendas aside and do what's right and require our kids to wear masks. Thank you.
My name is Phil Sens. I live in North Shore Drive, Painesville Township. Thank you for having me here tonight. This is the second time I talked in front of a school board meeting. I never thought I'd be doing that as much, but this is all making me get active. Can you not hear?
I can't hear you.
Okay. It's all making me get active. So I would like to send a message that we talked about last time, and that's it. It's parents' right to choose whether their kids wears a mask or not. I don't think the school board should have that right. I shouldn't be having conversations with my kid about they really don't want to wear a mask all day because they don't feel good, it gives them headaches, it makes them sick. And conversations about how they're losing their school years due to this virus. But at the end of the day, it's the parent's choice of what happens. I'm not going to throw insults or throw names. That's just my opinion on what should happen. I think that's the majority of the opinion of the people in your community. I certainly respect people who want to wear a mask, that wear a mask, wear two. Wear a hazmat suit, I don't care. That's what makes you comfortable. But just don't tell me what my kid has to do to get an education. I can see by the board, it's going to be a close vote. Two of you have masks on, so I figure it's a 2-3 vote. I would like to point out that I find it interesting that some of the people wearing masks up here didn't bother to wear a mask at the home football game the other night in the concession stands. But that might be a little petty. So, but again, all I'm asking, I appreciate you guys, the position you've taken. I appreciate you hearing everybody. I urge you to be strong and stand for the conviction that came up with the policy that currently is now that it's the parent's choice. Thank you.
I'm Josh Pollock. I live in Lake Erie Shores here in Painesville Township, and I too, like Phil, see a couple board members up here with masks, and there's one up here that I spoke with in a very heavily crowded concession stand not wearing a mask. And I'm in medical sales for over 20 years. I sell N95 masks during this pandemic. N95 masks are not even rated to stop a virus. They're rated to stop particulates. They're 0.3 microns and larger. The virus is 0.06 to 0.1 in particulate size. So when people are wearing homemade masks, you technically should be changing them every 20 minutes. I'm sure most people are wearing them for weeks without washing them. And the homemade masks aren't going to stop anything. And most of the masks that I see on people, it even says on the box, the old mask probably will not stop the virus. So I guess I'm just, like Phil, I'm a responsible parent, and there's too much disruption that happens in the classroom. I couldn't hear Belinda talking. I know you were talking loud, but you had a mask on. It was very muffled. I couldn't imagine how hard it would be to hear a teacher in a classroom 20, 30 feet away. It's just upsetting to me, and I've got a couple of points I wanted to mention. With using masks, it's interrupting our kids' social and emotional well-being, and it's isolating kids. They can't see a friend smile when they're having a tough day. I watched my children when they were forced to go in home for learning. They weren't learning anything. My kids are straight A students, and their grades suffer because they weren't being taught in the classroom. And it's upsetting because the emotional part is the component that was most upsetting. My kids were really depressed, and I feel like we're playing politics with education here, and it should not be that way. We already have mask choice. People that are scared, people that feel safe under a mask, if they're so effective and you believe in them, then great, wear them. I'm with Phil, wear 3 of them. It doesn't matter. But to tell other people, do as I say, not as I do, is very hypocritical, and I don't agree with that stance. All this has just gone out of control, and we're getting emails every day. I don't feel like the email notification from a test that won't tell you it's COVID-19, the flu, or the influenza. We're getting emails daily, and it was just like that during the pandemic when we were under a mask mandate. It has not changed. Thank you.
I'm Britt Minch. I live in Concord Township, 11960 Oakhurst Avenue. We're still in the middle of a pandemic, and there's a lot of misinformation, rage, and mistrust that's being thrown around, and it's replacing knowledge and thought. Good information is really required to be able to make good decisions. And we're supposed to be here to have our children get an education so they can make good decisions. Misinformation can lead to deadly consequences. Caleb Wallace, I'm sure a lot of you probably already know who he is. He was one of these anti-mask organizers down in Texas. He attended a anti-mask rally in July this year. At the end of July, he caught COVID. He went to the hospital. He was on a ventilator. He's dead. He's not a hero. He didn't die for a cause. He died because of misinformation, outrage, and poor choices. We need to trust the experts. And a lot of people in here are like, oh, well, you know, the experts say this, the experts say that. Well, I listen to the Cleveland Clinic, University Hospitals, the CDC, the Ohio Department of Health, and all of the children's hospitals in the state of Ohio say that masks work and that we need to be asking our kids to wear masks. So who in this room is more of an expert than the doctors? I mean, I think about it this way. The state of Ohio mandates that I wear glasses to drive. Is it my choice that I wear glasses when I drive? I need to be able to see, don't I? I mean, I see many of the board members wearing glasses. I mean, is it your personal choice to get out there on the road and drive without glasses on? Is that personal choice? Is that freedom? I don't think so. We need to recognize that everyone can have an opinion, but expert opinions need to matter more. As of today, the only protection we have for our children that are below the age of vaccination is this mask. It's not a whole lot. And we need to have all of our kids wearing masks because my mask protects you. Your mask protects me. If you use them together, they can provide a little bit of protection. It may not be perfect, and we still may have some kids getting sick. But if we don't do something, what you're doing is you're charting a course to sending all of our kids to doing remote learning. That's not what any of us want. The reality is we have a common enemy, and it is not each other. We need to be working together to keep our kids in school. Time's up.
My name is Michael Hickson. I live in Concord Township. I have 3 children in the Riverside School District, one in high school, one in junior high, and one in Melridge Elementary. My wife is also employed here on the Riverside campus, so obviously the decisions that are made about policy impact my family significantly. First of all, I want to take this time to thank you all for all the work that you've done in our district, especially the last 18 to 24 months. I want to say the same for the teachers and the staff in the Riverside School District that are here in attendance or watching this. I want you to know that while I may not know all of your names or know you well, I pray for you all daily. And I am thankful for the countless ways that you and the Riverside staff, everyone here employed, have adjusted these last 2 years. Today I have 2 requests. First, I do understand that there are some things that are outside of your control. And I appreciate that you cannot change certain health guidelines. But as you're making COVID-related decisions, I would ask 2 things. First of all, please make these decisions taking into account our district first and foremost. You're representatives of us, the Riverside School District, and I respectfully ask that you hold our circumstances and our opinions in your highest regard as you make decisions. And secondly, I would ask that if you do decide, in fact, to have students wear masks, that I would urge you to consider different measures that take into account the differences between elementary schools and high school. In his article in the Atlantic Monthly, Dr. Vinay Prasad, says this: "The potential educational harms of mandatory masking policies for preschool and elementary students are much more firmly established than their possible benefits in stopping the spread of COVID-19 in schools. Children have different needs and vulnerabilities than adults. Early childhood is a crucial period when humans develop cultural, language, and social skills, including the ability to detect emotion on one another's faces. Social interactions with friends, parents, and caregivers are integral to fostering children's growth and well-being. I would ask that you please not implement a one-size-fits-all policy that expects kindergartners to adapt educationally in the same way that a high school senior would, especially when the infection rate in our district is currently much, much lower among elementary students than high schoolers. Again, I'm not here to argue science. I'm here to say thank you for all that you have done, all that you continue to do, and I'm thankful for the opportunity to speak today.
Hello, my name is Virginia Modick. I live in Concord Township. I have one student in 9th grade and one in 1st grade online. I'm also an RN who has worked med-tele, critical care, COVID units, and skilled nursing. I tell you this because I want you to understand I am a medical professional who agrees with the vast majority of medical professionals that masks work. I don't care who comes up here and makes false analogies about pools being built out of fencing or conspiracy theories about the government hiding dewormer from us. The fact of the matter is, not all opinions are created equal. I've been trusted to catch labs that mean a person is turning critical, run life-saving medical drips, titrate up to 6 different cardiac drips at a time. I run a code until a doctor can get there, and yes, I've cared for fragile patients affected with COVID who can go from okay to very not in a very quick turn on a dime. Why is it that medical professionals are trusted to take care of people in all these situations, and we are lauded as heroes at the beginning of this pandemic, but now you won't follow what we are telling you is very basic disease prevention? Why are we being vilified and told we have no idea what we're talking about when we're just asking for the public to take on the smallest bit of responsibility, have a fraction of the accountability to stop this deadly pandemic? I've been agonizing over what statistics or facts I could give to make people understand how important this is, but I thought about how dishearteningly anti-science the crowd was last time, so no matter what statistics or percentages I give, I know they will just make up something or quote some obscure Facebook doctor reference to combat it. Therefore, I've decided to speak not about that, but how our district is handling this pandemic, and it is not handling it well, not as well as it could be. Not only are we not masking our children, we also are, which we know will cut down the spread of the disease, we are seeing more positive cases, and the quarantines are not being handled well either. When my son was exposed, I only received an email. By the time I saw it, my son was already in school for half a day. No one called me from the school saying he shouldn't be there or to check if he met the requirements to come back to school, since I had yet to email them back. Luckily, my son is vaccinated and always wears his mask. But if he wasn't, he would have been in school for half a day minimum, possibly infecting all the other children with no follow-up. Now, I got an apology from the nurse because she thought she'd called everybody, but she said she was burning the candle at both ends, trying to track down all the contacts and family for the exposures. What does that tell you about our numbers? I don't know if we need more people or resources or whatever, but something needs to change, and the easiest thing to change would be to mask our kids. And to parents who would say, just have your kids wear a mask, my son is being bullied for doing so. He's been bullied verbally and poked in the eye because he was wearing a mask. My son's doing everything he can to protect others, especially a 6-year-old son who cannot be vaccinated, who is at home not getting an in-person education to protect himself. But after seeing the attitudes of the audience of the board this time, I can understand why children are bullies to other children, seeing as parents that were here before. Just please ask yourself, are you doing everything you can to protect our children?
Hi, my name is Jill Cowhoff. I live in Eastlake, but I have 2 grandchildren in this school district. And I want to talk about statistics today, which I got mostly from the American Academy of Pediatrics, the Ohio Department of Health, and the U.S. Census Bureau. In the first 18 months of this pandemic, children represented 14.8% of COVID cases weekly. in the United States. The week ending August 26th was about the first week of school. That percentage jumped to 22.4%. Total cases have increased fivefold in the last month. Since school started, child cases went from approximately 38,000 a week to 200,000 a week just for children. And total case, in Georgia, they did a study on their schools after 3 weeks of school, and there were thousands of kids that tested positive in schools that didn't have mask mandates, but the schools that did, they saw very few cases. COVID cases, hospitalization, and deaths in Lake County have been on an upward trend since July 30th, and it's not even the normal flu season yet. Currently, Lake County is the 13th highest rate of reported cases of COVID out of 88 counties. Cuyahoga is only second to Franklin County, which is Columbus. Cuyahoga County is right next to us, and I think it's fair to say a lot of people from our area go there, whether it's for work or sports or the air show or whatever, and they could bring the COVID back with them, or they could take it there with them. Right now, new COVID deaths in the U.S. are averaging nearly 1,200 a day. That's 6 times higher than it was 2 months ago. In the last month alone, over 1 million children in our country have been tested positive. We just want the school to mandate masks to keep our children safe. We're not here to ask people to put something in their bodies that they don't want. We are just asking that our children and grandchildren be protected in the safest and least invasive way from being forced to put a substance in their body that they don't want, one that could harm or kill them. I believe that mandating the wearing of masks will help ensure the health and safety of our children. Thank you.
My name is Jane Kaminsky. I live in Painesville Township, and I have a 4th grader at Melridge. There's one factor I think we can all agree on. We need to keep our kids in the classroom. Currently, the quarantine procedures set forth by the Ohio Department of Health and the Lake County General Health District only make certain exceptions for vaccinated individuals and schools with mask requirements. Specifically where our elementary students are concerned, we have neither of these. The spread happening across the district will catch up to our elementary age students, and they will be forced into remote classes again. My daughter was a remote learner for her entire 3rd grade year, and while she had a wonderful teacher, she struggled. The struggles she experienced were not characteristic of her typical school performance, and I know that she's far from the only one who struggled. Remote learning is simply not adequate. Studies published just this summer indicate significant learning loss and diminished social emotional progress in remote learners. The temporary change to Section 4 of House Bill 409, suspending the 3rd grade reading guarantee requirements last year for promotion to grade 4, is evidence enough that children were not learning sufficiently in remote classrooms. I'm not a teacher. I cannot provide my child with the support she needs at home. We rely on education experts to teach our children, and we should be relying only on the health experts to guide us in how to keep them in this learning environment during a pandemic. Masking is overwhelmingly proven by actual experts to effectively slow the spread of this virus and keep our kids in school. Kids under 12 have no way of protecting themselves or others from the spread of COVID aside from masking. Without this, the cases will climb. This is only the 3rd full week in a 40-week school year. We're talking about a temporary mask requirement. Unless we continue to dismiss the advice of the credentialed agencies from whom we've taken health guidance without fail until this pandemic. The Riverside Local Schools mission statement indicates that educational opportunities, empowerment, and instructional support are among your top goals. I am simply asking you to follow through with that mission by keeping our kids in the classroom, where they are, in fact, supported, empowered, and educated in the most effective way possible. A temporary masking requirement is currently necessary to accomplish this, as nearly every other school district in this county has proven. Let's not be the only district unwilling to heed the advice of experts in the areas that we are not. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Julie St. John. I live in the district. I have one child at the high school and 2 children in elementary school. I'm a biostatistician at the Cleveland Clinic. A group of us concerned parents have circulated a petition advocating for all of our children to be protected by adopting a universal masking policy, which will in turn help to keep our children in school. We've gathered over 550 signatures since Saturday. This, along with the supporters in this room, show that there is a strong will in the community for our schools to implement universal masking. Please let this petition also speak for the many members of the community who did not want to come and deal with the contentious nature of this meeting, as well as for those who are not comfortable in an indoor setting with a virus surging and many unmasked and potentially unvaccinated as well. I have emailed the petition and signatures to the board and superintendent today. There have been 93 cases across the district in 15 days in the classroom. This is fast approaching the 108 cases that there were the whole last half of last school year. Aside from getting the vaccine, universal masking coupled with other preventative strategies is our best defense. Masks do work, as study after study have shown. I wish I had time to go into each. Taking into account the size of the school and the number of days in class up through yesterday, I compared Riverside to Mentor and Painesville City, because those two have had the mask mandate since the beginning. It's clear that Riverside has over double and triple the rates of those schools. In Ohio, the school districts where masks are optional have seen a 54% week-over-week increase compared to a 34% increase in school districts where masks are either required for all or required for some. The CDC has been extremely clear on their stance that there should be universal masking, K through 12, regardless of vaccination status. When others say, just have your child wear a mask, it just does not work that way, unfortunately. My child's mask helps to protect your child's mask helps to protect mine. It's like playing a team sport. You can't just have 1 to 2 kids playing while the rest do nothing. We all need our children and staff to be wearing masks to mitigate this. It's a common sense measure, just like washing your hands. And to say that wearing a mask may negatively impact your child's mental health is just not a substantive argument either. I assure you that your child's mental health will be much more negatively impacted if they or someone they love suffers and or dies from this virus. In Ohio, there have been almost 2,000 children hospitalized and 9 have died, 516 across the country. To say any of these counts are low, how would you feel if that's your child? I don't care how low anyone thinks these numbers these are children who are getting very ill and or dying, and if we can prevent any of these, then we should be taking simple preventative measures. Please listen to the health experts.
Does this come up?
Yeah.
Should, yeah.
Just slide it forward.
Go to the front, maybe. I'll hold it for you.
My name is Dylan Wright, and I am in second grade at Buckeye. I love my country because we have freedom. Making me wear masks all day at school when kids don't even get sick from COVID is not freedom. Some kids in my class wear a mask, and that is their mom and dad's choice. God made our bodies to fight off viruses. I don't want my body to be weak. I don't want my breath in my own air all day. Breathing in carbon dioxide and bacteria all day is not healthy. My school does not have air conditioning. It is already hot and stuffy in there. Masks make it so much worse. Please let me and my parents have the choice what to do with my health. Thank you.
Good job.
Hello, my name is Rachel Wright. I live on Meadowlark in Painesville Township. I have an elementary student, Dylan, and a preschool student in the district. I started a petition just 4 days ago when I saw the other petition going forward, and have already received over 400 signatures. I also did want to mention that after reviewing the signatures on the other petition, those are not all people that live in the district. In my email to you yesterday, I attached the numbers of COVID cases for the district from the beginning of the school year to now. Only 12 kids in the entire preschool and elementary over a 4-week span and over 5 buildings have tested positive for COVID and 0 hospitalizations or serious effects. This number shouldn't even be a discussion towards a mask mandate. If you are concerned with the slightly higher numbers at the middle school and high school, where they are old enough to get the vaccine, then mask that age level. Little kids should not be subject to this unless the numbers warrant it. We as parents elect our board to speak for us. The names on that petition and countless other parents who don't even know this is happening today want our children's immunity to work for itself. The numbers of RSV in preschools in this county are astronomical because these kids have been masked for the last 1.5 years and have no immune system to fight it. We are subbing out COVID for RSV, colds, and flu. What is the difference? We all know that children are the least likely to have any serious repercussions from COVID, and yet here we are with the fear-mongering by the media and doctors who ignore the real science. These kids are not 80-year-old smokers at high risk. Let their bodies work. A survey of parents should have been taken before this meeting to gauge what they want for their children. The parents that spoke earlier in favor of a mask mandate have every right to mask their own kids. Why shouldn't we have the same right not to mask ours? If masks work, how is it affecting your child if my child isn't wearing one? Your child has a much greater risk of being killed in a car accident than being seriously ill by COVID. Are you going to stop driving them around and make them stay home at all times? No, because that's ridiculous. Well, so is mandatory masking. We live in a free country. You have choices. You can mask your child or keep them home. It is unreasonable to expect everyone to comply with a policy that does not affect them. You can't live your lives in fear. COVID is not going anywhere. It's not going to be gone in a year. It's here to stay. Am I supposed to mask my preschooler for the next 12 years? Are we going to have this discussion when my 5-year-old is a senior? When is the overreach going to stop?
Can we give it up one more time for that young man? Man, I give him a lot of credit. Board, thank you for having me speak tonight, and Dr. Kalis, thank you as well. My name is Doug Laconis. I have 3 kids that go to Riverside schools, and I appreciate the opportunity to speak. So, first off, right off the bat, what I'd like to say is that, as a community, we need to unite, because, what we're finding is that we have obviously a great deal of division, and, when I talk about unity, and then the next thing I want to talk about is politics, that creates division too. But the one thing I want to say to people is this, is that, and I've come to this realization, and I came to it years ago, because things just didn't make sense to me in DC, was that there aren't Democrats, and there aren't Republicans. There just aren't. That's an illusion. That's to confuse people. That's to create the thought that I actually have a choice. But in reality, we don't. There aren't Democrats and Republicans. I would say 90 to 95% of the people in DC aren't there to look out for our best interests. And they're not there to represent their constituents. They're there to represent themselves. And I'd go one step further, but I won't get into the specifics of it. These people are all in the same club. And that club isn't looking out for our best interests. I'll just say that. So, but how do they divide us? They divide us by who you need to wear a mask, or you don't need to wear a mask. You need to get vaccinated, or people don't want to get vaccinated. So then they call them, anti-vaxxers. They try to put a bad spin on it. So, the one thing I'll say is that we've got to be able to think for ourselves and not let these people in Washington, just quite frankly, I don't care if it's Democrat or Republican, most of them could care less about us, they care less about the American people, and they're not looking out for our best interests. And I think we can see that today quite clearly. So, and I asked and I sent an email to every one of you last night. I said, let's do a little critical thinking of our own. But let me go one step further. Everybody is, and maybe I just missed it, but Dr. Fauci came out and said the PCR tests don't work. They don't work. So we don't have a test right now for COVID. We don't even have one. They're creating a new one right now, and it's going to be available January 1st. So what I'm just going to say is this. So if we don't have a test, and by the way, they've never isolated the virus either, so I would ask the board, please, simple request, please just prove to me that the virus actually exists. Can you provide me that proof? Thank you.
My name is Lois Dillon, and I live in Concord Township, and I have a junior in Auburn and Riverside. I don't have a speech, I don't have anything written down. I am aware of the one petition and about mandating masks, and when I voiced my opinion against that, I was called an uneducated, poor, grammatically officiated fool. I was told that I was wrong and no one else was right. COVID has divided us. It is divided us. And the only thing I really love about the option at Riverside is there is an option to wear a mask or not to wear a mask. If you want to have your child wear a mask, that is your personal health decision. If I don't want my child to wear a mask, and he doesn't because he doesn't feel comfortable, that is my personal health decision. That is what this is all about, an option. But one side says, okay, you either have a mask mandate and we're going to make you do it, and if you don't like it, you can stay home. That's not my option. My son is in theater. My son was in band. He needs to have the option to wear the mask or not. And if he chooses not to, then why? You're going to make him live out the rest of his high school days wearing a mask because one group says, we say you have to? No. Keep the option. Keep the option. Stop the division. The division is bad enough. You can't voice an opinion one way or the other until the other group says, well, they start with the insults and the aggression and the intimidation. That's what I got when I voiced my opinion. I have an opinion. You have an opinion. We all know the code's not going to go anywhere. It's here. It's here to stay. They're going to come up with a new variant and then another one and another one. If you want to be vaccinated, be my guest. I don't want to be. But that doesn't mean I'm not a responsible parent. I know what my child wants, and he doesn't want to go to a school where he is impaired by wearing a mask. He can't see his friends. He was depressed. Come on. Keep the option. Don't make it one group rules all. Thank you.
My name is Matt Rhodes. I live in Concord Township. I'm representing Men of Honor. I notice that, there's obviously a deep division between the two sides. But the side that I'm on is against mandates. I'm against coercion, force, being told what to do. The other side is for that. I'm here to advocate for my children and my family's right to advocate for whatever we feel is best to keep ourselves healthy. Per Ohio's coronavirus website, there are 0 COVID deaths in Lake County for people under 20 years old. Approximately 40 hospitalizations for those under 18 in Lake County since COVID began. Almost 80% of COVID deaths in Lake County, of the a little more than 400, are 70 plus. 50% are 80 plus. The mask, it's obviously already been touched on, but there's studies showing the negative effects of prolonged mask wearing, especially in elementary school students. Transmission in school settings, especially from student to student, is extremely rare. And I have the studies. I believe I shared some of those studies with you guys. It's about prevention and treatment. There are methods out there that are available to help reduce possible effects or receiving or getting infected with COVID. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Joe Volpe. I live in Concord Township. I got 3 kids in the district. Frankly, I agree with a lot of things that are said on both sides, I guess. But I come to you with a different side, I guess. Things I haven't really heard much is, let me ask first, why, just for a rhetorical question, why do we have architects that design our buildings? Why do we have these wonderful resource officers, this guy in particular, I know a person, in our buildings? It's because the experts suggested that you should have these people here to protect us, to build our buildings safely. It's your job to do educational decisions, not to make health-related decisions, especially politically motivated health-related decisions. In my district, where I teach, masks have been required since day one, since before school, and thankfully, I'm really thankful for that. In my school, in my classroom, the students don't sit and argue with us over masks. In fact, being required to wear the mask gives them a sense of security and provides them a less anxious and nervous environment. I know this because we've talked, we've had these discussions. Imagine trying to learn and always being aware that today could be your last day in school for a week or so if you were exposed to someone else. Now you have to learn online, which none of us want. That daily stress is very disruptive to the learning environment. As an educator, it's easier to teach my kids knowing that I have them all in class. Knowing that none of them are going to leave for a week and then I have to provide them work that I then, the educator, can't teach them. They have to learn on their own or with some other video. Being in school is the best place, and like it or not, masks provide us a simple, easy answer. Now, as for at least one of you I've heard, and I'm sure others, you claim that because most of the students in the school aren't wearing masks and the majority of the families don't support that, that's a poor excuse for logic. Okay, but I agree again, frankly, with logic. It's a bullying thing. Kids wear it, other kids don't. There are a lot of reasons kids don't wear masks. We have sports teams in our buildings here at Riverside. They take it upon themselves to wear their masks because they want to save their season for themselves and others, because then we have college money banking on them. They do this so that they don't get sick. I, for one, applaud these young adults for doing what they believe in is best for themselves and other people. I implore you to stand up and be as strong as the students in your district who choose to wear masks and vote yes to require masks for all students, no matter what others are pushing you to do. Thank you.
My name is Christian Weiss. I'm a 1983 graduate of Riverside. My dad was a 1952 graduate of Riverside. My sisters, my ex-wife, her parents, my entire family for 3 generations gone to Riverside. So I'm well invested in this school district. I've lived in Leroy since 1978. And through my various real estate ventures, I paid more in property taxes than most people make in a lifetime. Okay? You know, we can all argue about all the science, Dr. Fauci, all of that, but here's the practical situation. Our children will not wear a mask in a manner that will provide the protection that the mask is intended to provide. Okay, so throw out all the arguments of whether the bug gets through the mask or not. Wearing these masks as a practical application with these children from kindergarten through age 12 is like a 400-pound man trying to be modest while wearing nothing but a fig leaf. Okay? For the record, I weigh 397 pounds. Okay? Now, that being said, okay, in the past year, since the original lockdown and send home, spring of last year, We've been playing football, we've been wrestling, we've been playing all the sports, okay? At the height of the pandemic, when everybody was willing to wear the mask because we wanted to believe what the government told us, the kids are out playing football. My son was on the 7th grade football team, okay? These kids are sweating and breathing and grappling with each other, and they continue to do that, okay? We are all in the same petri dish, okay? I recognize this virus is real, and I recognize that some people die from it, okay? 99% of us will get well, and we will be fine after that, okay? So I, along with all the other people who want the choice and want to be able to have the choice on behalf of my children, okay, am against wearing masks. If there's a mask mandate, my children won't be here anymore. I have the financial resources to take them somewhere else. And I realize not a lot of people have that opportunity or that choice, okay? You guys haven't worn masks on the buses? They don't wear the mask on the bus. If the bus driver enforces it at all, they get on the bus, they hunker down behind the seat, and where the bus driver can't see them, they take the mask off, okay? Point is, no matter what you do with masks or these partitions you had last year, the children won't use them in the manner that makes them most effective, which in my mind makes them superfluous, okay? That's my input on it. I hope you guys make the right choice, and thank you for your time.
Thank you. My name is Patricia Denny. I live in Concord. And this is regarding masks and vaccinations. And the fact that, you know, we have extended family members who have died of COVID. And our family is expecting a new grandchild this week, but Hillcrest will not allow us to be there for the birth, as we had been there for our other grandchildren, and hospitals are now rationing care for regular health issues due to their beds and ICUs being filled with unvaccinated COVID patients, including many children. On September 7th, the Cleveland Clinic nurse said that they are seeing younger and sicker people, almost all are unvaccinated. They've seen many patients die, especially in the last few days. Hundreds of thousands of unnecessary and agonizing deaths could have been prevented if people had taken the advice of health personnel, many of whom are so exhausted. And we all know some, I would guess, that they're leaving those jobs. And in some places, counselors are being brought in for hospital staff members trying to deal with the trauma that they themselves are experiencing. For me, as a student of Catholic social teaching for 35 years, the moral dimensions of the issue are paramount to me and others of our faith. It makes me really sad that I'm not sure I want to be living in a community where so many residents seem dismissive of human compassion, a gospel value, and of scientific inquiry and truth, including historical truths about racial injustices that continue to eat at our national soul. Thank you.
Hi, good evening. I'm Dr. Misty Sense, and I am a board-certified health physician. And I'm not here tonight to talk about statistics, which I know can be skewed in either direction. And I'm not here to talk about research, because that can be skewed in either direction as well. I am here to ask that you keep the choice of masking up to the parents. I'm also here to ask the question, to the board and to the parents. Why be adamant about mask wearing, but not quality of food or nutrition being served, appropriate amount of exercise, fostering innovation, critical thinking, and creativity? Kids' potential for illness stems from multiple factors. To merely insist upon masks and vaccinations is a blatant negligence to what has been contributing to escalating rates of all chronic illnesses among our younger generation. To teach them to be in fear is not a healthy strategy and only promotes a higher preponderance of mental, emotional imbalances, such as anxiety and depression, not to mention psychosomatic disorders. So let's get busy educating ourselves and our children to have faith in the amazing capacity of the human body to self-regulate, self-heal, and express its resilience in light of any adversity. This is how we can support our kids in expressing excellence in all capacities, which will foster a brighter and healthier future. Thank you.
My name is Christy Milo. I live in Leroy. I have 4 kids. One freshman comes here, 5th grader who goes to Parkside, and I also have 2 who have graduated from here. My oldest daughter, Taylor, is an essential worker in the medical field and has held the hands of many COVID patients as they passed. We all have stories of loved ones who have passed from getting sick from this horrible disease. Have we all forgotten that we are all in this together? I'm not here to share any statistics, but I think we can all agree after being quarantined for so long, then being forced to wear a mask, yet here we are, still in the same place. Obviously what we've been doing isn't working. I think we can safely say, even if we mandate this, it's not the end-all answer. Again, we are all in this together. Let's teach our kids to respect each other's decisions. These are our kids. This is the future of our America. I don't care what side you're on, we need to parent our kids towards unity. We're all responsible for how our kids treat each other's kids. They learn it from their parents. My opinion, masks do not work. Your opinion, masks do work. My suggestion, you can choose for your child to wear a mask, and I can choose for my kids not to. But let's all teach our kids to be caring and respectful of each other's decisions. And after all, we all live in the land of America, which is the land of the free.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Yolanda Ackerman. I live in Heisley Park. I have a daughter that graduated in 2020 and a son who's a sophomore. I am also a teacher in 2nd grade in a district that does require masks. I do not have to pester my children to wear their masks, with the exception of if they're speaking and it comes down over their nose. I might have to remind them to put it back up, but they don't argue, they don't fuss about it. They're much better learning in a classroom than they are not. When we went remote last year, it's harder to teach remote than it is to be in a classroom, even though you're not very mobile at home when you're teaching and you are in a classroom. In my classroom, I'm constantly moving, walking around. It was more exhausting to teach remote than it was ever in the classroom. You do have a choice whether your child wears a mask or not. I do believe that they should be mandated in Riverside. It's my own personal opinion. I do think the high school kids, I know many high school kids who will not wear a mask because they're bullied so badly for it. I have a child of a neighbor that comes home every day because she wants to wear a mask and her friends tell her that that's stupid, and it puts her in a bad place. She's not the only one that feels like that. I also have another neighbor whose 3-year-old was on a ventilator from COVID. She's not an 80-year-old smoker. She's a 3-year-old child with no pre-existing conditions. COVID doesn't care your age. You get it or you don't. And our elementary kids that don't have the pleasure or the luxury of being vaccinated, whether their parents choose that for them or not, they don't have that choice. So let's do what we can to protect our kids. As a teacher, I wear a mask all day, every day. Is it ideal? No. Do I love it? Absolutely not. But do I do it? Absolutely, because I want to protect the kids that I'm teaching. I want to stay in my classroom, and I want my kids to stay there too, because that's the best place for them. That's all I have.
Hello, how you doing? You've already heard my son Dylan. My name is Richard Wright. I live in Painesville Township. I too am a teacher. Now, I have a different experience than her, but let's first talk about freedom. Freedom is about being able to make choices. Now, masks should be optional. Masks are not normal. Requiring masks should not be normal. What's next? We're going to wear gloves, goggles, and hairnets? Well, if you want to wear a mask, wear one. That's what I think. We should wear a mask. It should be optional. Wear it if you want to. I don't want to deprive someone from their ability to wear a mask. But nor should my child be subjected to having to wear it if I don't want them to wear it or he doesn't want to wear it. Sure, we say the CDC says that masks may provide some protection if they're well designed and used correctly. I got that off their site. Most kids do not wear them correctly. I see 600 plus kids a week, and all day long, pull up your mask, pull up your mask. Your masks are soaked, they're dripping, they're the same masks that they've been wearing week after week after week, and it's clear they haven't been cleaned. They're soaked, they're just grimy, they're horrible. Now, even Dr. Fauci, back before COVID got politicized, at the very, very beginning, he said that the masks you buy at the supermarket, the ones you make, viruses pass right through them. So, kind of like, what's the point? Things have shifted because of politics. Now, he did say back then that some of the best thing you can do is eat right, get enough sleep, get some exercise. Now, imagine wearing a mask in your gym class or in a school where there's no AC. You're gasping for air all the time. Kids get headaches from it. It's horrible having to wear a mask all day long in a hot building with no AC. It's horrible. But, bottom line, masks should be optional. And I understand, I sympathize with some of the parents who are saying, hey, my kids are getting bullied. But shouldn't we handle the kids that are bullying them as opposed to forcing everyone to have to wear a mask because of it? It just doesn't make any sense. So we should handle the bullies for what they're doing, not force everyone else. I just don't understand that. We're masking these kids, these little ones. They're not affected by COVID. I mean, the survivability is 99.997%. They're going to be fine. Now, that's the bottom line. We have to make a choice. Let us do what's best for our kids, what we believe is right. Okay? That's it. Thank you very much for your time.
So I have 3 kids. They all go to elementary school. 5th, 3rd, and 1st. And my son, who's in 1st, is really what's driving me to speak. I'm sorry, I get emotional. That's who I am. And my son has a medical diagnosis of oral apraxia. And I wonder if any of you on the board actually know what that is. But it is a disconnect between his brain and his verbal skills. He understands everything that you tell him. He will follow directions. He verbally cannot speak it back to you, and he is not at the same place that his peers are in academics or verbally. Now, in saying that, I had to push him on to 1st grade. While all of his IEP team, with me, agreed that he was not academically ready. Would you all like to know why I had to push him on? Because you as a board will not entertain retention. Even though my son is behind and struggles, even with the help and having an IEP. to mask my son, who already has a speech delay and impairment, who goes to school every day just wanting to communicate with his friends. You think a mask helps that? My son has not been sick. My family has not been sick. We don't mask. And guess what? I'm not vaccinated. And yet we are fine. I understand that not everyone is. I can sympathize with that. But then that's their choice to be vaccinated and masked. So if you do put masks, how are you going to help my son? Because you as a board have already put him at a disadvantage. You going to do it again? Also, I just want to say that a group of people back here masked were totally fine standing outside before we came in the meeting, not socially distanced and not wearing a mask.
My name is Peter Orr. I live in Mountainside Farms. I have twin 5-year-olds that I unfortunately did not send to the district because there is not a mask mandate. I am a 14-year Navy veteran, Afghanistan veteran. I'm a doctorally prepared nurse. I'm a nursing instructor at Lakeland Community College, and I have a COVID testing office throughout the pandemic for the past year, and I've tested over 3,000 of our community members. I was just at the hospital today, this morning, with my clinical students, taking care of 10 COVID patients on the unit. 98% of them unvaccinated, and that goes pretty much throughout the country. I went to my COVID testing clinic this afternoon, and the Riverside School District numbers will go up because I tested a couple more positive students. I've been doing this throughout the pandemic. I've personally tested over 3,000 of our community members. I alone, okay, I did not get COVID because I wear a properly fitted mask. Okay, masks do work. The virus needs a carrier, okay? It's not airborne. It's not necessarily airborne. It needs a carrier. It needs a droplet. It needs that to be able to transmit. And how do we do that? We do it by talking, by spitting, by singing, and masks work. I want you to do a really simple, and I wasn't prepared to talk today, but I felt the need to at least share my side of the story. Wear a properly fitted disposable mask. I do this with my students when we talk about tuberculosis, pneumonia, and transmission of droplet-related illnesses. Wear a properly fitted mask and light a lighter right in front of you and try to blow it out. It will not blow out, okay? With a properly fitted mask. If I had a lighter, I'd bring in a properly fitted, regular disposable mask. That lighter will not go out, okay? If you're in my shoes, I tested probably between 500 and 700 COVID positive patients that have coughed in my face. And within 1 foot, I never got COVID. Would you take that risk and test 500 to 700 COVID positive patients that are very sick that come to your office and not wear a mask? I think not. So I would love to send my kids to the Riverside School District. They just turned 5 and made the decision not to send them to kindergarten yet. But I decided we had the financial means to take them out of the district and put them in a private school for pre-K that is a mask mandate. So I urge you all, masks do work. Take it from someone that knows it. Take it from someone that's been doing this for the past year of this pandemic. Tested over 3,000 people, given public health guidance to many communities. Please institute a mask mandate.
My name is Matt Lozinga. I'm a social studies teacher here at the campus. I'm a district parent. I have a son in 8th and 5th grade. It's been a while since I've been here with you guys. And, I wanted to take a little different angle on this. You know, over the years, I had a lot of interaction with all of you who are district admin. And we've had our fair share of disagreements and issues and go-arounds, but I've known you all, and for everyone in the audience, I've known you all to be honorable men and women who genuinely care about the school district here, despite any disagreements or anything that we've had. And I really do believe that you guys are good, solid people that care about the district. This is where I live. I graduated here. My family lives here. My extended family lives here. This is what we do. This is where we go. I didn't choose to send my kid to private school. I believe in what we do here. And, you know, if you all take the step to issue a mandate, by nature that's going to require the good people that work here in our central office, in our buildings, and our building administrators, much of whom are, again, really solid people that care deeply about the kids in the district. And it's going to effectively put them, not you, into a position to enforce a mandate that you aren't here to enforce. You won't be here at the door asking kids why they don't have masks on. You won't be here in the classrooms to hound kids about masks. And you won't be here to have to answer to our own children in school and at home why kids in the cafeteria don't have to wear a mask when they're sitting at tables and chairs, and they're sitting at tables and chairs in my room. Is it the food? Is it the room? What is it that protects them from COVID? And so, contrary to what my other counterparts said, you know, there's one of our neighboring school districts that has over 60% of their high school has some form of exemption. Are you gonna test that exemption? Are you gonna offer a religious test? You're not here to deal with the irate parents. That's the people that are on the ground here. And as a district parent, I need my kids to be in school being taught. And I need the people running the district to run the district, not have to worry about being the mask police. And, you know, if it's not going to be enforced, it's useless and ineffective. Mr. Hack, it's good to see you in the building. If you want to stop by a social studies class, anytime.
Hello again, Gabe Cicconetti. When this all started, there's so much emotion. Everybody has different opinions, feelings, news headlines, etc. This research, this. So I try to stick to facts, data that you can download, hard data that you can look at, that can't be skewed. So, real quick, as of last night, our district, 5 elementary school buildings, 12 cases out of 1,857 kids. That's it, 12. And since we started school, with most of the spread to be found not in school, but outside of school, per our health department. We moved to the Riverside campus, as of last night, 71 total cases out of 2,439 kids. The 2 places, because I keep hearing about the vaccine, right, and the kids can't get the vaccine, but the 2 places that have nearly 60% by the health department vaccinated have 600% more cases than our elementary schools. So what are we talking about here? We have 12 cases out of almost 2,000 kids. And we're talking about wait till they get the vaccine. Well, the ones that can get the vaccine have 600% more cases than the kids that don't, okay? The petitions are not. Everybody's got them. Both sides have done it. 90% of your students, I've asked some of you to walk around the school to see, I don't know if you did or not, but I think if you did, you might have saw that 90% of the kids aren't wearing masks. And the vast majority of your teachers aren't wearing masks. I think that's pretty telling. When that many kids come in without masks on and your own teachers aren't wearing it, how people feel and their comfort level. And I know that headlines are scary, and I hear everybody talking about full hospitals. Fact, Ohio, right now, below 80% occupancy. The NIH says hospitals shoot for an 80% or over occupancy to make a profit. They are under 80% in Ohio. Hospitals aren't full, I'm sorry. In Lake County, kids 0 to 19. Since school started, August 17th, 1 person from age 0 to 19, 1 out of 75,000 in that age group, has been in the hospital and tested positive for COVID. 1 out of 75,000. And I know another argument is keep the kids at school. Well, board, this is your job. We need to stop quarantining healthy kids. It's on you. The health department says it's you. Today I went to Melrose to drop something off for my daughter, and I walked in and I saw a lunchroom full of kids laughing, playing, running around, having fun. And I'm just thinking that we're going to take this away from them again for something that is less dangerous to them to the flu. Not anecdotally, literal data is less dangerous to them than the flu. We've never masked our kids for the flu. We've never put up plastic barriers for the flu. Do not steal another year from our kids. That's all I'm asking. Let us make the choice. And if they say that it doesn't work with both, you guys got the guidance Friday. The health department doesn't talk about the infected person. They only mention the person that was exposed if they were wearing a mask. So that should be on us. They don't say we're both wearing a mask. Was the exposed person wearing a mask? That is the only thing the local health department mentions. So,
Hello, my name's Robert Browning. I have 2 kids who live inside the district. They no longer go to schools in the district. That's fine. I'm also a veteran, a disabled veteran. I think what needs to happen in these meetings is talk a little bit about perspective, and that's what I'm going to try to provide. I'm a disabled veteran. I had a rib break off my spine in an exercise. My lungs do not flex the way normal lungs do. They go like this, right? That's how lungs go. My lungs go like this. So I lost 20% breathing capacity. I wear a mask. Isn't that something? I can breathe just fine with this mask on, all day long. Now, I'm a veteran, so maybe it's because of my military training, because of the exercise that I've been put through, that my body's just conditioned for that kind of harsh environment to wear a mask, right? Great. Let's talk about perspective. Saturday was September 11th, right? What happened on that day? More than 3,000 Americans instantly killed, right? Towers came down, planes crashed into the Pentagon. We went to a 20-year war over that to prevent the next one, right? Have we had a domestic terrorist event? No. Did we need 20 years of war? Maybe not. Riverside has SROs, right? Why? Anybody can answer. The deputies, you guys do a fantastic job. Thank you for everything you do. We have SROs to protect our children from the threat of gun violence, right? When's the last gun shooting that's been in Ohio? At a school. But those SROs are still getting paid, and there's a contract, I believe there's a contract, for that service. But we can't mandate masks for a threat that is real. 500,000 Americans, over 500,000 now, have died because of COVID. Right? Isn't that something? We go to war for 20 years, 3,000 people died because of 3,000 people. The economy, billions of dollars got spent on after 9/11 for the war effort. Masks are cheap. Prevention is a fantastic tool. Why can't we just use it? Our children need and want to be in school. I want them to be in school. I want people to be able to go to work every day. I called somebody to have something towed, and he's a good friend of mine. He's in the towing business. He's got to take 2 weeks off of his business because he contracted COVID. Now, why can't we just wear masks? It's something so simple. I understand it's up to you. I appreciate the time that I've had today. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Rana. I live in Concord Township. I have 2 children that are in the school system, in this campus.
I want to take my clothes off. I want to parade around here naked. It's okay. But there's a reason I can't do that. It's not about me. It's not about my personal freedom to do that. It is about you. It is about your indecencies that you can't handle or whatever. I can't do that. You live in America. Yes, you have freedom of choice, but you do not have freedom of the consequences. This isn't about you. This is about the other person. Yes, we were outside standing together. We were outside. According to data, you can be outside. We can attend football games. We don't have to wear a mask. I'm vaccinated. I'm not masked because of me. I'm a mask because I care about you. I've heard people talk about how some of these other companies and businesses, they can do it, so why can't our schools do it? Let me tell you something about those companies, because I work for one. They mandatory that everybody have a mask. We take a health check every day, several invasive questions. After that, and you check in, and you punch in, you have to take a thermal reading with a camera, with facial recognition. That's what I deal with every day. Everybody separates. We respect each other's boundaries. Still, I have to deal with people who don't respect that. It is a large building, 30-foot ceilings. It's not a small classroom. I can walk away. I can stay there, go away. So that's how these other businesses are doing it. They're listening to health experts. I'm hearing people that they're saying, oh, follow the science. Well, I follow the science. And most of the studies that people come up with aren't even a real study. They're the conjecture, they're the opinion of somebody else. It's somebody who isn't even really accredited in the field. I'm an industrial hygienist. Really? Are you a virologist? No. How is it that the Cleveland Clinic, the university hospitals, every single children's hospital has said, this is what you should do? They don't want it to be political. Well, guess what? It is political. Our own Republican governor has said it's political. Right now, he would tell that everybody has to wear a mask in the schools. But he can't do it. Why? Because the political parties passed a law. Lake County Health Department said today they would do it right now. Why? They passed a law.
Good evening. I'm Robert McKnight. Most of you, if you know me, I go by Trapper. Robert's just my legal name. I went to high school here at Riverside High School, graduated in '02. I was a real pain in the ass. So as a teacher, or as speaking to you as teachers, I appreciate the level of effort that you gave to me in my life. Mrs. Field is one of your teachers here on campus, I believe, still. And she effectively changed my life. She took me in her classroom and gave me the opportunity to learn. So I want you to understand that I want my kids in school too. I want that same experience for them. There is a great divide here amongst everybody, and I understand that. I appreciate it. I want to ask everybody, when did opinions and choice stop mattering? It's my opinion that my child should go to school. It is my choice to talk to her, to educate her on what's happening in today's society, and give her the choice if she wants to wear a mask. Do I think it's important to wear a mask? Do I think that things such as that could be mandated that would protect my child? I don't share that same thought. I think that my understanding of my family, I live it day in and day out, as you do with the children here at school. And you know what goes on. You know how hard it is to police these things. I know how hard it is to tell my kid, yeah, sorry, you're going to have to stay at home today because maybe you were exposed or you're at remote learning. I'm a career IT guy. Think outside the box. Right? There's things that we can do in today's society versus taking choice away, versus taking opinions away from people. Even if you folks do decide to go what I would deem unfortunate and mandate the masks here in school, I would still send my kid to school and I'd ask her to wear a mask because I think it's important. But when she comes home, she's going to go outside, she's going to play with her friends that are still here at the district without a mask. Okay, so whether they get COVID here, or they potentially contract it outside of here, there's really not much that we can do. And by taking the choice away from the parents, you're going to aggravate a lot of the community, and you're going to put our kids in a place where they're going to have to fight for varying things, whether they're bullied, whether it's breathing, or whether it's just discomfort. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Mike Anderson. I'm a parent of an elementary school student in the district. I don't have any prepared remarks, but I have listened to everybody in this audience talk about how important it is for kids to be in school. I'm not a health expert. I'm just somebody who has read the policy for quarantines and close contacts. Just looking at the case numbers in Riverside District, it's obvious where we're heading. Madison School is just down the road, had to close just 2 weeks into school. I do not want my child to learn virtually, but it's pretty basic math to understand. You know, if cases keep going up, just based on the contact tracing, just based on the quarantines, there's not going to be enough kids in classrooms to keep them open. I'm not, you know, trying to tell people what to do for their children, but schools are not going to be able to be open, you know, just based on the quarantine numbers if the current trends continue. Cases across Ohio are as high as they've been during the pandemic, so I ask you all, I know you held this emergency meeting, it's really important. I would just ask you all to please consider temporary, I don't know how long it would be, but a short mask mandate could help us get through this spike in COVID. Keeping kids in the classroom where everybody agrees here, they learn best. Parents too will have much more sanity, being able to keep their daily routines. I just feel it's a very minor inconvenience. I know my kid doesn't love wearing a mask, but you know, we talk to her and make her understand that it's important to stay in school where she wants to be. That's all I have. Thank you.
My name is Scott Fishel. I live in Concord. My wife and I had 3 kids graduate from Riverside. What I brought with me today is a 50-page dissertation put together by a doctor. This report covers 40 years of medical and scientific research and study in at least 25 countries, including the United States. What this report shows is that masks do not stop the transmission of viruses. What this report also shows is that masks harm the physical condition, the mental and emotional and psychological condition of kids. And I have a copy for each of you, and I'd like to go ahead and give you a copy. And I would also add that in the state of Ohio, that almost every lawsuit that has been filed against the state and school boards has been lost by the state and school boards when it comes to mask mandates. I would urge you not to do a mask mandate.
Amen.
Good evening. My name is Susie Fernandez. I am a parent here of 2 children within the Riverside School District. One is a junior, one's a sophomore, and the other is in 6th grade, and super excited to be able to move finally in person because it's all huge. Some of you in this room know me. I'm a transplant. Okay? What that means is I was born and raised in Southern California, which at this point has got to be the most liberal state in the country. And I can't tell you how proud I am of my community, because now this has been home for the last 18 years. I am so proud to be a part of a community that stands for our personal choices and for our freedoms as a nation. Okay? When I sit there and I stand in the stands of the stadium every Friday night watching my son play with Regiment, hearing our national anthem and hearing your alma mater, that alma mater brings tears to my eyes because it's now my alma mater. Because this is where my kids have been. And this is where my kids will graduate from. My daughter wants to join Regiment because of it. This is huge. I love this community, and I love the fact that you guys have given us the choices to make the best decision for what's right for our family. I raised my kids together with my husband on the grounds of faith. We have faith in a God that has groomed us, has protected us, and has given us everything that we need in order to be able to protect ourselves and to become contributing members of society. Okay? I am one who will teach my children and have taught my children you will lead by example. When I see people up here wearing masks, and yet they have not, when they're sitting there supporting the regiment in the concession stand, face to face with numerous people that we have no idea where they're coming from and where they've been in contact with, it's pretty incredible. Yes. You want to lead? You lead by example. Do as I say, not as I do. So I just want to thank you. Again, I'm proud of my community. Thank you very much.
Hello, my name is Nikki Davis. I am a parent in the district. I have a junior, I have a freshman, and I have a fifth grader at Buck Elementary. I'm also an educator in a district that requires masks. Today, at least probably 85 times, I ask my first graders, get your mask out of your mouth, pull your mask up, let me help you fix your mask. Because you know what? They don't make masks small enough to fit some of their little faces. But I don't want to discuss that right now. What we haven't really discussed is the emotional, social well-being of our kids, their mental status. I'm a mom who drove her son to Laurelwood Hospital in May of 2020, whenever the COVID started, it seems like an eternity ago, May of 2020, because my very social child was now confined to his room, seeing his friends on a computer screen doing school. Now my very social child has a 504 plan because he has anxiety. And you never know that now because you know what? His world is much different because he doesn't have to wear masks to school. He doesn't have to worry about, he plays football for goodness sakes, and I can't tell you how safe that those guys are being because we all know it's going around and that's okay. But the reality is my son made his choice, and I'm not here to discuss vaccinations or not, but my son made his choice when he was able to get the vaccination, he did. My daughter made the same choice. Why? Because it's their choice. It's not your choice, it's their choice. And I'm glad that my children chose that because you know what? They did it for other people too. It wasn't a selfish act. They did it, yes, for themselves, but also because they didn't want to worry about getting someone else sick too. And my son mentally, I mean, you can talk to other parents. My kid was not the only kid that was struggling. My kid was probably just the only kid that was admitted to Laurelwood. And let me tell you, any parent here that has ever taken their kid to Laurelwood and dropped them off, it is the worst experience ever. And I pray that no one has to do it, but I can tell you that there are countless stories through this pandemic of kids that have struggled. Put a mask back on them, I'm sure there's going to be more.
Hi, my name is Erin Coburn. I'm a parent in the district. I have a 9th grader, here at the campus, a 7th grader, and a 5th grader at Parkside. I am also a teacher in the district. I teach special education, and I am in a lot of classrooms. I just would like to say, before you put a mask mandate in place, I would like to invite more of you to visit our schools. I saw Mr. Hack there last week. I urge you to look at the children wearing masks and the condition of those masks, the way they wear them, and what they look like. I wish I would have brought one to show you. It's repulsive what they're coming to school in and what they are keeping on their faces. I I, as a teacher, can't control that. I can give them new ones. I can offer them things we provide, but it's horrible. And to keep that on their face day in and day out should not be something, in my opinion, we are mandating. I urge you to come visit the school, see how many of our teachers are wearing masks, how many of our students are wearing masks, how they wear them, and what they look like.
I want to thank everyone who spoke tonight, and I do want to thank everyone too for the behavior that we had tonight. I'm really proud of everyone in this room. That takes us next to the next part of our work session, Dr. Kalis and district COVID-19 protocols.
Okay. We were going to pull the other administrators up. I guess we won't really need you unless...
Yeah, I think we're pretty, this is an important part of the conversation.
Okay. We have some updated COVID numbers. In our district, obviously, we've been in school only for 15 days. We have 93 cases, and we have 252 quarantines. To be honest with you, the quarantine numbers could probably be higher. As someone said earlier, our nurse has been burning the candle at both ends, which he has. We're trying to do some contact tracing. Instead of carte blanche of trying to quarantine a whole classroom that may be infected by one person, we're getting into the classrooms and we're seeing how close those individuals are to the people that are in there, and we're trying to keep kids inside school. I think it's pretty universal here that everyone believes that the best place for kids is to be in school. With that being said, our numbers from last year totaled 243 total COVID cases for the entire year. I know this wave is coming at a different time of the year as opposed to last year. But I remember someone, I believe, from the health department saying that although the peak last year was November, October, November, that it's peaking, September, October for us this year. I don't know how true that is or not, but our numbers are increasing. So we have 93 already. We had 243 last year. So I believe, if my math is right, it's upper 30% already. Some other information I'd like to share with the board as well, just a moment. So the difference between last year and this year, the breakdown of last year's cases, again, like I said, between October 22nd and November 17th, we had 44 cases, which represents 31 students and 13 staff members. November 18th through December 15th was 56 cases, which was 30 students and 26 staff. And in December, between the 15th and the 28th, we had 46 students and 15 staff. And that's after we were actually out of school. Again, the discussion is, and I agree with some of the people here, is the fact that our students, whether they're masked or not, they tend to be social animals, and they get together after school and weekends and everything else. But the argument I've heard from other parents is, sure, that is true, and I think everyone agrees with that. But what are we doing about mitigating the spread when the kids are walking into the school? And that is what some of the people who want masks have advocated for, is the fact that they understand that happens. But what are we doing about it in school? Now, what we have in place right now in terms of health protocols are pretty similar to what they were last year, minus the masks and those dust shields that we had. And I'll be perfectly honest with you, the reason why we put the dust shields in place is that we could not guarantee that students were going to be more, 6 feet apart in our schools. We're pretty crowded and we have a large district. So that's the reason why we bought those. And those were expensive shields. And they didn't hold up very well. And while kids were in class, they couldn't see through them after a while because they were dented. And when you're dent, you can't, would leave a white mark on them, you can't see. They had difficulty hearing. So at spring break, we got rid of those. And we continued with the mask mandate up until it was rescinded in June 2nd, which, to be perfectly honest with you, I thought was a little bit strange since we had a mask mandate all the way through. And then all of a sudden, coming from the governor's office and the ODH, they're rescinding the masks. Because we leaned on the fact that it was a mandate, I couldn't think another way of dealing with it other than to pull the mask mandate off. Because that's what we were telling those people who did not want masks throughout the whole year. There was only 3 days left of school, so we pulled that back on. Now, I'm going to speak a little bit for the board, you can correct me if I'm wrong. We had a lot of discussion during the summer about what we were going to do with the start of the school year. And it was our intent was to try to bring back some normalcy to our students. And while we had some discussion at the board table, we never took a formal vote resolution. But things got worse as we were seeing on the news about the Delta variant. So the last 3 weeks, I've received numerous emails, both sides of this. As you can see, everyone that was up at the podium, there's split again in terms of how we should handle this. Last year, other than the 243 COVID cases, we had 875 quarantines. That's compared to our number after 15 days of 252 quarantines. So I guess what I'm saying is, it's not going to be long before we catch up to these numbers for an entire year, as we have had so far in 15 days. So there was some other discussion earlier too about COVID by numbers in our district, and I think some people brought up some other districts. We gathered some data. Yeah, our percentage is low. It's 2.5%, but it is the highest of all the schools that we surveyed. So our percentage of positive students is 2.5%. Mentor is 0.9%. Willoughby East Lake is 1.9%. Painesville City is 0.7%. Perry, who is mask optional as well, is 1.1%. Wycliffe is 2%. Madison Schools is 0.7%. And Kirtland is 1.6%. We also were wondering about mask exemptions. I know a lot of people that were here were saying that they don't have any other options. Well, even with our mask optional approach, we tried to give as much options as we could, right? We offered an online program through the ESC of the Western Reserve to give people a option. It doesn't seem like a lot of people are wanting that option. Last year we had a full-blown online program. But we were wondering about all these other schools with mask exemptions. Josh, we're not taking questions right now, I'm sorry. I'll talk to you later. Okay, I understand that. So, the mask exemptions in other school districts, Mentor has about 4%, Willoughby East Lake has 5.4%, Princeton has 4%, West G 5%, Solon told us a handful, and Chardon has 14%. We also had some surveys done. Our teachers union, Riverside Local Education Association, had 224 responses, and they asked, should the district mandate that all staff and students wear masks while in school buildings?
I'm sorry, can you tell us how many total members of the RLAA there are?
I think we have around 260.
Thank you.
So a good portion. They asked, should the district mandate that all staff and students wear masks while in school buildings? 56.7 said yes, 43.3 said no. Do you currently wear a mask in your classroom? 63.8 said no, and 36.2 said yes. We also did approach our classified staff, and they said that they expressed that they're in favor of a mask, and that's a certified union in OC. Students masking at school. We wanted to find out how many kids are wearing masks in our school, even under the mask optional stance that we have. So on Monday, this past Monday, Lamouth had 97 out of 536 students wearing a mask, which is about 18%. Lamouth also had double absences that day, around 77, and they usually have on any given day. I don't know if it's all of COVID or not, but we had kids out. Riverview had 146 of 608 students wearing masks at 24%. Parkside had 81 out of 517 at 16%. Buckeye had 95 of 347 students wearing masks at 27%. And Melridge has 59 of 267 students wearing masks at 22%. The Riverside campus, we didn't survey because the building is so large, and to get everyone in to survey in one period would be very difficult. We have noticed that at the start of the school year, no one was wearing masks, really. I remember just standing out in this lobby at the class change and seeing a couple of kids wearing masks. There are more wearing them now, but I don't think it's a real large number. And that's the stats I have for the board.
So I was curious if I could. You had inquired of, can I get the microphone, just so we can be heard?
You were also kind enough to reach out to the Lake County General Health District, and you got some information from Mr. Graham, who's the director. And I didn't memorize it, nor did I bring it with me, but I thought that there was a point that you asked, how many of the people who were quarantined actually ended up being symptomatic?
I don't have an answer.
Yeah, it was, okay. Okay, with respect to those moving from quarantine to positive cases, we were 7 quarantine cases that have ultimately tested positive. And so that would be inclusive of the county. Thank you.
Which?
You may have the answer. Of the quarantine, I know we're talking about the total number of kids that have been quarantined for the year or tested positive, but that's in total, right? They're quarantining for average of 10 days?
I would say an average of 10 days.
No, what do they?
It depends if they're masked, whether or not they're vaccinated, close contacts.
So although we've had a total of 252, that doesn't mean we have 252 kids missing from school at this point?
No, that is incorrect. This is a total number from the start of the school year, which was August 26th.
And that's the same with the kids that have tested positive, right? I guess,
Yes,
again,
that
our
is
goal is to
correct.
keep our kids in school, so as we look at these numbers, I just want to make sure, it says 252, it's really not those kids that are missing. It's some combination of
Last
that.
Thursday, we had a total of, last Friday, we had a total of 177 out due to medically waived absences, which is due to either being COVID positive or on quarantine.
And that's it? It won't be common cold or flu or any other?
No, it's medically waived.
Okay.
They mark it different in the student information system.
They mark it different medically waived as in that you know is specific to COVID? Because I mean, I can say for a fact my daughter was medically waived and it has nothing to do with COVID.
I was
why
told
she
by the
out.
attendance secretary that they mark the COVID positive plus quarantine different? Because I asked if that would include other illnesses or other reasons for absence, and they said no, so they marked it did.
Can you not? Sorry. You know.
So I'm not sure how we're proceeding exactly, but I guess during the public portion, there were questions about what it is that we do, and from a board perspective, and what our roles and responsibilities are, and so I thought I would remind us of the oath we take. We can't actually take our seats until we actually take an oath, and the oath goes as follows. I solemnly swear or affirm that I support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Ohio, and that I will faithfully and impartially discharge my duties as a member of the Board of Education of the Riverside School District, Lake County, Ohio, to the best of my ability and in accordance with the laws now in effect and hereafter to be enacted. And so we're here as people who have taken an oath to uphold the Constitution. So we're not here to represent things, and for the Declaration of Independence, I'd just like to say we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, that to secure these rights, government is instituted among men. Again, to secure these rights of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. So earlier there was a question as to, what is the board about? What is it that we are here to do? Well, we're really here to defend the Constitution and implement the Constitution and to make sure that your constitutional rights are not violated. Additionally, we are here to be a sanity check, right? So this is the situation. We're here to be in a situation where we are a sanity check. I guess I put it like this. Would we let the military determine how much money they needed and whether or not to go to war? Of course not. Would we let the sheriff determine how much money he needed and whether or not to set up checkpoints at every intersection to make sure that people were safe? The answer is no. There's a balance. We are here to be the sanity check on what quote-unquote experts do. Mr. Miley has an education background, but the four of us, other four, do not. So we interact with the board, with Mr. Kalis and Mr. Placco and some of the other members of the administration, and we have a very good and solid dynamic. We have come a long way in the 10 years that I've been on the board, but we are here to represent the community. We're here to make sure that there's a reason, there's sanity check, right? So that applies to the medical realm as well. We would never, just as we never give carte blanche to the military, we would never give carte blanche to the sheriff. We should never give carte blanche to anyone, right? We are divided, and I'm so sorry for that. But with the policy that we have in place, I believe that we have threaded the needle as best we can. Everybody who wants to wear a mask and get vaccinated is able to do that. Everybody who doesn't has the option not to. It doesn't get any more clear to me than that, and that's, I see that as the best we're going to be able to do. But I did want to just talk a little bit about, so you might say, well gosh, these people, I'll try to be quick because I don't want to overdo my welcome here. But from a Riverside, from a perspective, who am I? So we are all very fortunate to have been elected by you to be on the Riverside School Board. But what does that really mean? What background and experience can we bring to the table? Well, we all have varied backgrounds, and we are very analytical. But here's my background. I'm a Riverside graduate. I have a BS in chemistry from Miami University and an MBA from Case. I was a chemist for 4 years and a passenger car motor oil formulator for a very large chemical company here in Lake County. I was an IT project manager for 21 years, working for the Department of Defense. I helped raise 2 kids, both of whom graduated from Riverside. I served in the Navy Reserve for 21 years, including a year in Iraq. I've been involved with the Salvation Army. So it's not, we all have various backgrounds, but we bring to the table experience. We bring to the table understanding. And that needs to be brought to bear in all facets that affect the district, whether it be education and whether it be medical. Because frankly, there's a lot of things going on with the medical treatment of the coronavirus since we've been moving forward that frankly don't make sense to a lot of people. And that's where we're at.
In the matter of proposing a masking policy at Riverside School District, I would like to be clear that the Board of Education is a non-political body. Our members are not medical experts, scientists, nor are we given legislative powers to create or enforce laws in the state of Ohio. As a board member, one of our jobs is to ensure that the district implements policies and practices that allow students to engage fully in educational endeavors every day. In these unprecedented times, it should be our goal to ensure that students have the ability to remain in school, in person, every day, without interruption. I do not believe that anyone presents an argument against that goal this evening. If the common goal of in-person attendance can be at the greatest success without interruption through a mask mandate, which would alleviate quarantine issues to the greatest degree, then it should stand that this can be the only solution to the question at hand. While there may be compelling arguments, both positive and negative, on the efficacy of masks, that is not the matter placed before this board, and I am not here to offer my opinion in that arena. The only question we have is if we have the ability to control the risk of quarantine among our student body. And the answer is clearly that we do have that ability. With the universal masking policy, we will be able to minimize as much as possible the time students will be at risk of quarantine, but of course that's only applicable to close contact tracing within a school setting. We cannot be responsible for what students are exposed to or their masking requirements outside of the walls of our facilities. Because of the quarantine policies and rules that are in place in our county at this time, I will ask that a temporary universal masking resolution be placed on our agenda with the requirement that the policy be in effect beginning Monday, September 20th and ending on December 31st, 2021. At that time, you may actually have a newly elected board who will be sworn in, and those members may have the ability to vote to continue or discontinue that policy.
People with spines.
If this measure passes, further discussion can be had regarding the use of exemptions and how those should be applied if decided upon. If the measure fails, then there is no need for that discussion. It is my hope that no matter the outcome of the vote, that the members of this board will move forward in support of the board's decision-making process. I will also hope that the community will respect the decision of the board without disruption and understand that the process was duly carried out in the manner in which it was required.
There you go.
All right, with that, then, Mrs. Grassi, have you made a motion to a possible resolution regarding universal masking? That was
Yes,
your making-
I have done that, thank you.
Is someone going to make a second?
I'll second it.
With that, Mr. Plyko, call the roll, please.
Well,
Or was there,
there's
I'm sorry, is there further
discussion.
discussion?
Yeah, there's lots of discussion.
We had lots of discussion, that's why.
Yes, ma'am. So,
We are in a situation, sorry, that's really rough.
can I get the other?
It's right there.
Oh.
I tried to get it. Oh, I'm sorry.
We are in a situation where we need to understand and respect the rights of people to make a choice. No one in the current circumstance, no one loses their rights. In the circumstance that we're talking about, at least, we're going to call it, for easy math, we're calling it 15% of the students are masked, 85% of them would be losing their rights. My observation when I went to the schools, I went to 3 schools on Monday. I was able to tour the campus, I was able to tour Vermouth, and I went to Park side as well. And the numbers actually seem to be accurate that Dr. Kalis quoted before. It did seem to me that fewer teachers were masked than was indicated, but maybe it was just the schools I was at. I agree that we have a problem with the quarantine to a certain extent, but I think the answer to the quarantine is to treat the situation we are in as endemic. Not pandemic, it's endemic. And so what do I mean by that? So Dr. Kalis, again, as I mentioned, did reach out to Mr. Ron Graham with the Lake County General Health District, and he asked the question, with respect to those moving from quarantine to positive case, we are aware of 7 quarantine cases that have ultimately tested positive. Again, the reporting is highly irregular. So all of our data is irregular because the state and the reporting process is unreliable, and we have PCR tests which are unreliable. We have several issues, but at this point, 7 of the quarantine cases have gone positive. And I'm assuming that's for the county. I don't know the full number of the county. If we have 243 and there are other, let's just say 100 in other districts for easy math, 243 plus another 800, we got about 1,000 people, 1,000 students that are quarantined, estimate, and 7 of them are positive or became symptomatic in essence. Let me just make sure I'm reading that.
That's if the parents are responsible and get those kids properly tested.
So we are in a situation where almost no one is none of the quarantine. We're not demonstrating in the data that we have that quarantine that the exposure, quote unquote, exposure in a classroom environment leads to positive cases. So the other option that we have, rather than masking everybody, is to treat it as endemic. And when we have somebody who tests positive by the PCR test, which again many people question, then we inform the students or the parents of the student and let them know that's what happened. When I grew up here, I was gone for a while. My kids went to elementary school in Shaker Heights. When there was a disease, somebody had something in the classroom, we got back then, it was a paper notice, okay? But we were informed of what's going on. This is an endemic situation. COVID is here forever. If we're not going to be chasing our tails against it, we need to accept that we have personal responsibilities, and we need to let the parents decide how to move forward. That is a solution that I believe is much better for everyone involved, and gets the same point.
Right. Does anyone else have anything? Does anyone else have anything from the board to add for discussion?
I do want to say something. I spent a lot of time looking at all the data. I asked Dr. Kalis to provide us with a lot of data so we could take a look at it and understand the numbers and what we are seeing in our district. And I agree it's different than last year. But at this time last year, we also had masks, we had death shields, and when we left the school, we were masked. We were masked everywhere that we went, and that is one of the reasons why we see that difference. What I also did is I spent some time talking to people outside of the school, meeting other parents in the district, people that I ran into at sporting events, marching band, greeting kids that came into the school. I spent time talking to them, and it's very clear, we are divided. And I would say it's almost in half, and we see it in our teacher numbers of what they believe. And one thing we aren't seeing is that the people that do want to wear masks, we're not seeing those numbers. And I think what's challenging is for us, we're not looking at one student, we're looking at the entire district. That's what our job is to do. And for us to say that we have to mask the entire district when it's not represented that way, that's where I am challenged. And everybody has the right to wear a mask. Everybody has the right to protect themselves. And the Ohio Department of Health even says on something that we were given, they've told us that one person wearing a mask, they are protected. And I'm just challenged saying that we can do anything else like to mask the whole district because it's split. We're split, and we have to do what's best for the entire district. I do feel, based on my personal experience and people that I've talked to, that kids are affected by the mask. Whether it's in a study, whether it's not, it's what I'm hearing from the district, the people that I've spoke to. Kids with anxiety, they can't hear their teacher, they're afraid to raise their hand. Those things matter in a classroom, and I do believe our kids belong in a classroom, but at the same time, again, it's just so split, and I think we have to give people the right to make that decision for their students.
All right, does anyone have anything else to add before we call the roll?
Okay, so just to make sure that we're...
Just to make sure we're clear on the votes. The motion was made to go mass starting Monday through December 31st.
Yes.
And a nay vote will equate to maintaining current policy of optional masks.
Correct.
Thank you.
Yes, I believe it is our duty to have a vote on this issue so that we can put this to rest.
All right, with that, Mr. Plecko, call the roll, please.
Jennifer Harden.
Nay.
Belinda Grassi.
Aye.
Tom Hack.
Nay.
Lori Korniski.
Nay.
Jack Miley.
Aye.
Motion failed. Executive session, if I can have a second, please.
Second.
Mr. Matt, go ahead and call the roll.
Belinda Grassi. Tom Hack.
Aye.
Lori Korniski.
Aye.
Jack Miley. Jennifer Harden.
Aye. Thank you very much.